break. Listen to this. This is on Bill Bonner, Gary North, The Daily Reckoning, and how to identify a bubble. And this is a fabulous overview. It's on our website. They say, what will happen in 2004? Well, we won't even try to tell you. The best we can do is try to figure out what ought to happen. And even then, we're appalled by our own arrogance. We cannot know what the gods intend. All we can do is try to make out dimly the right and wrong of it. We begin today's remarks with a disturbing question. Now listen to this. Ask yourself this. Why should an American earn 10 times as much as a Chinese laborer? Does he work that much harder? Is he so much smarter? Does he have some unseen virtue blessed by the gods with extra spending power? He earns more only because his parents and grandparents and great-grandparents worked hard, saved their money, built machines and factories, accumulated wealth and knowledge, and avoided blowing themselves up in wars, hyperinflation, revolution, and socialist delusions. I would also say these guys obviously aren't writing from a Christian perspective, but it was because we were blessed beyond any nation in the world. But now, on an American, we squander our savings, we mortgage our children's future, and willingly participate in extravagant mass hallucinations that we borrow and spend until we all get rich. We will build an American-style democracy in ancient Nineveh. Our kind friends the Chinese will pay our bills. Ought such a man prosper? The remarkable thing, says a report from the Rocky Mountain News, is that despite the furious pace of home refinancing, other forms of consumer debt did not go down. You'll remember, dear reader, that no less an authority than Alan Greenspan, and as if there is a less an authority, we can't think of whom he might be, told us what a great thing mortgage debt was. He said it allowed homeowners to switch from expensive credit card debts to less expensive mortgage debt, with their balance sheets thus reinforced. They could add another few pounds of spending without the whole thing giving away. Well, the Fed chief was wrong about this, as he was about everything else. While the average household added to its mortgage debt, it added to its other debts, too. Credit card debt per household has grown to $7,000, leaving out mortgages. Consumers' debt has doubled in the last 10 years to $18,700 per household. Millions of families live paycheck to paycheck, says a news item, with no provision for risk. Go back to what I said a few minutes ago. International elitist bankers and their cronies own your mortgage, my mortgage, those of us who have mortgages, and when the time comes, they will pull the plug and they will issue the what we'll call the maximum dictate. Either kiss their butt, take the mark of the beast, or you're out. And if you think that's so far away, let me just tell you this, that in the worlds of high finance and high, how should I say this? When I say high finance, I'm talking the billionaires and above. These guys are all openly now talking about there's nothing that can stop them and no one that can stop them. Now, I'm aware of the scriptures that said pride goes before a destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall. But these people, remember, they don't fear God because they think they are God. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take a break. Hopefully I can keep the coughing down to a minimum. We come back, I'll talk about the safe room filters because it's getting time to consider that we're in for a glowing future and not in the way of being happy, joy. We'll be right back. We're back, ladies and gentlemen, and to make Walter happy, Walter, I hope this will help you. He's asking about a safe room filter or a shelter filter. Now, this is the single most important consideration, obviously, of any kind of planning you've got to do. You have to have a safe room filter or a shelter filter. Now, what I want to talk to you about is the American Safe Room filter, and this is a neat deal. It can run on 120 or 220, 12 volt. Should power fail, this system automatically goes to battery backup and has a second backup in the way of a manual bellows pump, and it's really neat. It's kind of a big circular accordion on the top of it. Now, the ASR-48 includes a war gas absorber filter, which works on any of the nerve agents. It's got a certified carbon filter and nuclear-grade HEPA filter that keep out the fallout particles. It's effective in removing everything from hydrogen cyanide, phosgene, mustard gas, sarin, ricin, VX, nuclear fallout, radioactive iodine, and all the biotoxins. With this unit, ladies and gentlemen, you can get the hose kit with a 7-foot connecting hose. You can get, if you want, additional blast valves, which most people won't need. You can get overpressure valves and test kits and everything. These are specially priced at $1,595, $1,595. I only have 3 of them in stock. I believe American Safe Room is, how do I say this, producing like mad. So these are the items that it's the single, in my opinion, most overlooked and important item that you can have. Now, people use these even in their mobile homes. Forgive me, not mobile homes, but motor homes. I know of people that have put these into their Suburban. They have sealed their engine compartment. They have sealed all the doors and windows. I mean, they've gone to a specialty car manufacturer that can make your car literally airproof. They have put these in the back, kind of on the opposite side of the fuel tank with the input, and then they hook the blower and the fan part of this unit up to their battery. They've got solar chargers on the roof of their cars. I'm not putting you on all this stuff. But those of you that don't want to mess with that, again, all you can do is just order the ASR48. You obviously, there are more expensive units out there, the LUWA, L-U-W-A, that come from Switzerland. Those things can cost upwards of $8,000. I don't know of a better priced filter. You go on my website, hit shop, and then you can go to the Safe Room filter. For those of you that are concerned with biological and chemical warfare and don't want to build a shelter right now, you can go to the website and you can go to a specific product that we carry, and it's kind of a neat deal because it's a portable biochem safe room. A giant, if you will, tent with its own filter unit and power unit and manual bellows. And this is a neat deal, everyone, because this is what the military is using, and they're designed in Israel. Each system creates a positive pressured environment and utilizes a multi-stage filtration process to remove all MBC contaminants. And these are in, they're available, but they're never available when the panic comes, and they're $3,295. For those of you that do not have nuke alerts, I would again encourage you to call Shane Connor at 830-672-8734. Look at Shane's entire website, KI for You. There's a massive plethora of different products there, everything from radiation meters, survey meters, MREs, everything that you would need. And Shane even sells complete portable fallout shelters that are made out of a steel culvert that have been modified with an entrance and an exit, and they're really inexpensive, relatively speaking. I think they're, in the $4,000 or $5,000 price range, and you bury those, and you've got a complete fallout shelter, blast shelter, and everything. And those of you who are worried about, the earth changes, etc., and the high winds that we're going to get, and when I say high winds, I'm talking 200 to 300 mile per hour winds, first in microbursts and then in sustained winds of that. And I don't know, those of you who live in Tornado Alley or have ever seen a hurricane, it's one thing to have a few minutes of winds that powerful. It's another thing to have sustained winds that powerful. So please, everyone, go to my website, stevequayle.com, go to shop. When you see shop, you'll see Safe Room filter, you'll see biochemical protection tent, you'll see the Air Aid emergency mask. We're literally selling hundreds and hundreds of these masks because it's the cheapest deal that you can carry with you. It's like a surgical mask with carbon impregnated into it, and it's the most effective mask of its type. They're for 10 of them, it's $30. So please, again, consider this, that you've got a time to prepare, and the time is becoming lesser and lesser. Think back 5 years. Think about what you expected then, or even 4 years. Prior to 2000, the Y2K event never happened to the degree that people thought it would. But the point is, it was sure a time to prepare everyone, and most people bailed. And I'm not kidding you. Most people that I know that prepared for Y2K threw in the towel, said game over, and went back to just, comme ci, comme ça. Whatever is will be, whatever will be is. So we're right at that time where you've got the opportunity to change and make a difference, and the ball is in your court. For those of you that still want to get in on some good precious metals deals, there are deals. Listen, let me explain something to people about gold and silver. Nothing goes up straight up unless it's the blow off or it's the blowout phase. So you're going to expect, and I've said this so many times, but I really need to say it again, you've got to expect extreme movements when you get into uncharted territories. Gold's at a 15-year high. Silver is at, a 10-year high. And right now there's going to be consolidation. When silver busted through $6 and went straight up, it didn't have time to catch its breath. So there's going to be retracing of at least 50% of its move. And let me give you the markets right now in the aftermarket, because I think it's important. A lot of people depend on my show, and because I don't stay sequential to get the prices, they miss the prices. Right now, according to Kitco, gold is $419.90, silver is $620, platinum $848, and palladium is $204. But again, the palladium quotes on Kitco are suspect because they automatically put themselves at least $5 to $10 behind the market every night. That's to cover themselves in case there's a $5 or $10 move overnight, so that they stay par. It's just good business to do that. Let's go here. Signs of the times. This is Nancy. Okay, this is interesting. Steve, I saw something today that I have not seen since I was in my teens, the 60s. At a local hospital, all the entrances had signs that stated, "No children under 12 years of age were permitted." I should not have been surprised, but I still was. A nurse in my radiation oncologist office said it was because of the flu. Nancy in Peoria, Arizona. I think so, but again, everything is new. Let's see what this says. Okay, Greg says this. Seems to me an attack while we're at high alert means a quicker transition to martial law. Lots of machinery already online. Okay, let's go here. How credible. This is from Dennis. He said, Steve, how credible is a nuke threat on New York City for 2/24, February 2nd, with a countdown going on, excuse me, on some Arab terrorist site? Well, I can only tell you this, that the international financial community, unrelated to terrorism and the stuff I typically talk about, the rumors are flying in that realm, and it's interesting because the rumors are coming from the Arab financiers. So, how credible? Listen, they want New York and they want it bad. If you take out New York, you take out the New York Stock Exchange, and God forbid that happens, let alone taking out Chicago and the Chicago Board of Trade, everything comes to a screeching halt. So I think it's important that we get this. Let's go here. Drudge headline. Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Bob. Drudge is reporting within the last 10 minutes, according to the International Monetary Fund, U.S. deficit threatens global economy. Something no one has ever addressed, and I'll be the one to address it. Have you ever thought what would happen if the United Nations got together with all of its member nations and decided to say that the United States has put the world in a position of financial collapse, not the United States, the world in financial collapse, and something had to be done? Have you ever thought about that? Now, what Bob is telling me, that the Drudge report is stating that the IMF, U.S. deficit threatens global economy, that's something that, quite candidly, I think that a lot of people have never even begun to entertain in their cerebral cortex. In other words, they've never got it together. So I would encourage you just to pay real specific attention, because my guess is that prior, and I'm just talking out loud, okay, obviously, but I'm just brainstorming with you tonight, I really believe that they would have to begin to go on an international slam the dollar campaign, so that when all nations bail simultaneously because they love us so much, that they had already been justified in the world's press. Now, remember this. The way you see America through U.S. Vomit sheets, meaning newspapers, magazines, and talk radio, and a lot of mainstream talk radio, and also television news, is that's not the way the world sees the United States. When you read Reuters, Reuters overseas versus Reuters in the U.S., you can't believe the scathing that's going on, and discussion that's going on about the United States. It's interesting. Listen to this. Steve, my producer, said this. Steve, this is really weird. We were up for hours before you started tonight. Everything was running perfect. The minute you come up, we are hit with a denial of service attack on all streams. He said, you're hitting a nerve with somebody. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I guess I've got to just say this. I'm sorry, but I'll tell you something. Somebody doesn't like the topic of tonight. Actually, somebody doesn't like every night. So it's kind of interesting. How do I say this? It's like they always blame. They always ignore the reality of what's right before them. So I can't tell you who it is that's messing with me, but the point being is that there's obviously somebody messing with me. Here's what Frank says. He says, my wife and I watch the mainstream finance channel most of the time to see if there's any news about gold and silver. Very, very little is mentioned about gold. Silver is never spoken of at all. They are persuading the moron masses to buy the paper. Absolutely. So, the thing is, you're never going to hear the truth on the mainstream, because the mainstream is a conditioning mechanism and vehicle. And guess what? The reason you guys and you ladies out there are listening to this show is because you get information here that you don't get anyplace else. So, it becomes incumbent upon us to not only be aware of the information, and sometimes I wonder, Jesus prayed to take the scales off the blind man's eyes, but I used to tell people we need to pray that God would take the scales off our hearts, because it's kind of like the scripture, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is at hand. Well, the valley of decision is that point where you have to be persuaded that not only is God God, not only will He take care of you, but you've got to be persuaded that it's better to be on the Lord's side with Moses than on the earthquake side with those who perished. A little Old Testament illustration there. So it's amazing. Again, James and others, Steve, my producer, just came on and told me that we had a DNS, denial of service attack, the minute I started my radio show tonight. So somebody is messing with us. And I got to tell you an interesting thing. You're going to love this. Most of you are aware of Dow Jones? I don't think I've talked to you about this. Well, they own good night. They own the company that rates businesses, and I can't think of the name right now. It's a business rating service, and you can find out who owns the company, what's going on. I received a call from the business rating company, and I can't think of the name. I've got a mental blackout. The biggest company in the world. And this guy, you're going to love this. He goes, and I promise you, I am not making this up, because I've got these guys' accents down. Mr. Quayle, we would like to talk to you about your account. Your account is very interesting. We have not seen such activity on anybody's account in our system. What is going on? Will you please call us at 1-800-422, and on and on and on. Pretty good. I mean, that's almost identical. I haven't called them yet. Oh, Dun & Bradstreet. Thank you. Dun & Bradstreet. Now, here's what's going on. I have watched my hits go up into the millions of hits, okay? But I notice, and because of being able to track the software that my Internet service provider can track, we are getting a massive amount of curiosity. Guess what? From the Arabian States, okay? And we're also getting a massive amount of curiosity from servers that I can directly relate to, how should I say this? I must be great entertainment in the East Coast in certain areas of the defense establishment. Typically, and I'll share this, typically the attacks that I have undergone on denial of service attacks have come out of California in the China Lake region. And if you guys know what goes on in China Lake, you can figure out that. But the point is tonight, I'll try and do some tracking, but it appears that with the interest in, quote, me and my company, and please, this is bizarre to me. And by the way, that little voice imitation I did? That is no kidding. And the guy is probably trying to tell me, oh yes, I live in Los Angeles. I guarantee he's in Bombay or Peking or someplace, Beijing, but he's not in the United States. And as you know, the information technology shift of jobs overseas, there's nothing that makes me more, how should we say this, vocal? How's that for a good word? Then when I get a call from American Express or somebody going, this is another one. Could you please call us? We would like to talk to you about an insurance policy on your card. Should something happen to you, we'd like to talk to you. And so I called the guy back. And I said, so where are you now? Are you in Bombay? Are you in Madras? And by the way, I get these now about every other day. And so now it's a game with me. And, the point that I'm trying to make, everybody, is if you wonder why 4 million Americans are unemployed since the current administration took over, it's because no one evidently, or I take that back, I was going to say no one was smart enough to see it happening. No, they were very smart, and they knew what it was going to do tonight, or to this country's ability to keep us employed. Now, look, our manufacturing's been destroyed. Our morals have been destroyed. Our Constitution is gone. You can say it still exists. I can tell you this, based on the laws of this land and federal judges being gods, little g's, it doesn't exist anymore. The presidential decision directives, executive orders, and what's going to happen is amazingly, how should I say this, in place for the big event. Coupled with Tommy Franks' statement, any weapon of mass destruction attack would result in the end of this experiment we call liberty. And I think he said 200 years. So, we're there, and I just got to tell you, the intensity of all this stuff becomes greater and greater. And if you'll pay attention to my shows, ask yourself this. How can it be that everybody else is up before me and after me with no problems, and the minute I come up, look, I don't think I'm anybody special, okay? That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm telling you is they absolutely must be, how should I say this? There's something I say or something I do that is not meant to be out there. The point is that it's amazing to me that this happens, and again, it's important. Here's somebody from Tony. What does Tony say? Okay, this is a good idea, and this is why you always track where the bureaucrats are. Okay, it's called the Rat Watch. Okay, wouldn't it be prudent to watch the major players in New York? When the Rockefellers and Coffee Annan and others of the like leave New York, I would think something big will happen shortly. Well, ladies and gentlemen, of course you can do that, and most of us don't have the ability to follow those guys, but there are people that listen to this broadcast, there are people in Washington, D.C., all over the place that keep their eyes open. And I just tell them, look, you see people bailing out, please give me a call. And it's amazing. And Tom, I understand the basis of NBC prep. Please forgive me, but you haven't been, on this show for 10 years. I did 3 years of it. It's probably time to visit it again. But the reason why I don't deal with that every night is because, quite candidly, when I was doing it, people said they didn't want to hear that. And when you're a talk show host, you try and get the subjects that the people want to listen to so you can provoke them. So I'm not avoiding the NBC prep issue. It's just with all due respect, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, I was traveling around the country yelling, writing newsletters until the pages came out my eyeballs, and I got to share this with you. You've got to convince people of the threat before they'll make any effort to protect themselves. So that's just an answer to your email. Let's do this, see what this is. Okay, just another internet report. Walter, what did you say? Thank you. Walter wanted me to talk about the safe room filters. Let's see what this says. Okay, Diana, I'll call you tomorrow. I'll call you first thing in the morning. Let's see this. Just more reports on tonight. Well, ladies and gentlemen, again, I want to share this with you. I am more than aware that there comes a time when this country will no longer be what you thought it was going to be. And again, you know, I have kids. I'm sure you have kids. I got a bunch of kids, and I just look at them sometimes, and like probably every parent in history, you look at your progeny, if you will. You look at your heritage, and you say, what will become of them? And, you know, I've got to tell you something. When I listened to Tatiana Korajnia with Rick Wiles' interview, and she was talking about Americans would be naked in the streets and stuff, and just because something that's told you is going to happen, you know, in the years ahead doesn't happen tomorrow, doesn't mean it's not going to happen. As a matter of fact, maybe someone could do this for me, and I used to know it, but I forgot. I did a study on all the prophets on literally how long the Old Testament prophets prophesied before the event happened. And normally, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was like 70 years. If you even take the destruction of the temple by the Romans and Jesus' statement in Matthew 24, that was somewhere around 40 years, a generation. But what I'm saying is that very seldom, with the exception of Nineveh, and again, forgive me, but I think that Nineveh was the only place I could find a 40-day time limit to its destruction. Abraham obviously interceded with God and the angel of the Lord to spare if there be just a few righteous in Sodom and Gomorrah. So the angels ended up taking Abraham and the righteous out, and it was only a handful, and before the destruction fell. But a question that I've been asked, do I believe that God will warn the Christians in New York City? Absolutely. Absolutely. So again, but the only ones that will be listening are the ones that will, how do I say this, the only ones that are praying and lifting up their voices and, how should I say this, believing God, they're the only ones that are going to be in a provision to hear or a place to hear, because everybody else will be too busy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for tonight and the interruption, but it just goes with the territory. Please, God bless you, and really give some consideration to giving me a call tomorrow, 1-800-424-7870, and I'll try and get you out of harm's way to the best of my ability and the realm that I can help you. Good night, everyone. God bless.